Okay. July 7th, 2022 at about 5:36 in the morning. Why are we not surprised? Okay, so I'm transferring files to free up the hard disk space on the computer. We know I can't do both, so as soon as this is transferred, I will focus on basically what I want to say. I'm going to title this video, Stay Focused, Straight Talk. I'm going to internalize my experience, people. And I'm going to share that internalization with you. And of course, I'm being theatrical about things right now, okay? Because I'm thinking with two parts of my brain. One with emotion, and the other one with critical thinking. Right? For the purpose to not exaggerate. In terms of whatever it is I'm going to say. Because I want to say a few things. I don't know where to start other than, now that we're in the here and now, the best thing that anybody can do, me. So in other words, the best thing that I can do, and everybody else around me, is stay focused. Whatever it is that's going on in your life, you have to stay focused. Whether it's a little hiccup or a big hiccup. Because what we just went through could have ended up being a really big hiccup. That was just a burp. Okay? Well, it was more than a burp. But, you know, in terms of where we're at now, because it's not just one thing that created a flurry of emotions, you know, we need to bring our emotions back into check. And, I don't know, there's strength in them. Anytime you have emotions, you have strength, right? That's energy. Energy creates strength. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what I'm trying to say. So even though you yourself may feel flustered with your surroundings and the influences that tweak your emotions along the way, doesn't mean you don't have strength. It just means you have to pull that strength together and stay focused. So we're kind of having a little educational seminar right now, right? Because I feel like I have this need to, you know me, start building. Right? Gotta make something. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I want meaning to these, you know, I like having some kind of meaning to my videos, right? And like, come on, that was a harrowing experience, people, right? And then that paramedic, he just didn't make it any better. Oh, sure, a $300 voucher to buy a baby monitor and the rail, don't get me wrong, I appreciate that. But, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. Anyway, stay focused. This is what I mean. Okay, you might not know everything, and you may never understand it. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you can't draw on that energy to stay focused. Okay. The energy that was created around the experience. Okay, obviously it was a negative experience what that paramedic did to me. Okay, because I had a sneaky feeling he was going to do something like that before he left. He was just way too cocky, right? He just didn't know I did YouTube videos. And if he did, well, he's still in incognito. Nobody really knows who he is. He's just the paramedic. He's just the paramedic. So if you want a broad sweep paramedics, well, I'll say he probably did his coworkers a disservice, I would think, being that this guy is just the paramedic. He's the representative of the paramedics, more than one. Okay? That's the first thing. So this is what I mean by the energy. Maybe he came in with some cocky energy that turned your world upside down. Okay? Basically, even if it's just for a day or two. It doesn't matter if it's for a day or two, like what I just went through, because those emotions kick in, and when they kick in, they become real, even if they're not necessarily justifiable. And I'll use Tisha as an example. Okay. I don't know what happened to Tisha, but seriously, she just went into some mother bear mode, like, you know, and with her emotions, right? Oh, I'm losing my thought here. I really have to bring out the wipeout board and just jot down a few things. That's what I mean. I feel like I have to build something here. Build, I don't want to say program development, but if I had to take it to a non-profit level, that's where it would be. We're at the building stage of program development through the learning process of life. Because we can only build on our experiences, which creates emotions. And this is where sometimes things get skewed, because the emotions become so intense, even though they might not necessarily be, I don't want to say real in the form of being justifiable, as it is, you know, when you over exaggerate something, or you just take it to the next level, when in fact you should just, you know, either stay where you're at with it, or what is that? Disengage from the experience to control the emotions versus escalating the emotions. Because I think emotions, well, obviously they play a big part in our lives, in our daily lives, right? And we're either going to draw on their strengths, or we're going and learn something from them, and gain knowledge, something. I don't know what. This is what we're going to figure out. This is why I say I feel like we have to build something here, because whatever I'm going through, I know other people aren't going through the exact same experience. Okay, there's only one Amari, so the one experience, but I can share the experience with you, to which you have your own experiences, to where some of these experiences, you know, they come together and they stay together because they're similar, where other experiences are way over here and I'm over here, and I could never really ever relate as to what you went through, because I myself personally didn't go through that experience toe for toe, right? In other words, exactly the same way you did. But okay, let me relate it to the crew at the pediatric child and youth ward floor, right, where I was with Amari, and how their level of emotions, okay, and you have to remember, we're dealing with a bunch of women and men with a heart of steel, okay, in regards just to what they do on a daily basis when they're dealing with injured children, to which is a whole bunch of different kinds of emotions, right? You're dealing with all kinds of emotions because, you know, the severity of the injury, from mild to bad, right? So, what am I trying to say here? Okay, as a group, the nurses in general and doctors and whoever, right? Just whoever works on that floor. In general, their emotions were grounded. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do their jobs. Okay? So, when you take it from a group level, right, and you bring it to an individual level, where am I? There we go. To an individual level, stay focused. You yourself have to ground yourself. And one way to do that is to stay focused on the things that you already have in motion, okay? So that you don't get derailed from life. I don't want to say just get derailed from doing the things that need to be done, because it's never enough. And there's always something that needs to be done, so therefore it goes into the realm of a life, okay? Life. You know, pick and choose your battles, right? Tisha says, you know, because my house gets cluttered, people. It's small, let's face it, right? And you're like, you know, I got toys and food and just whatever, right? You know? And, maybe I shouldn't have done this video. I'm too tired. No, it's because I want to say something. I don't know how to say it, and I want to, you know, I don't want my videos to spiral down. Like, we came close, right? We did, people. That came out of nowhere for me. What happened? I expected it to happen, whether it came from Julian's sister or whether it came from the public union sector at some point, but I just didn't expect it to happen when it did. Okay? So maybe that's what helped me to stay focused, because I was already prepared for it. In an off sense, like way here in the corners of my mind, we knew it could always happen. It can happen to anybody at any time, right? Me, obviously, a little more high risk than other families, for example. So, and then once you're in that process of going through those high cortisol emotions, you know, because of what happened to Amari, never mind what's around you, let's just focus on Amari here. Those emotions connect to that with the fear factor, right? In terms of, is he going to make it? What's wrong with him? Like at one point, Tisha was concerned, well, I suppose everybody was thinking that, you know, there could quite possibly be a personality change, or his cognitive skills could be diminished, because we don't know, right? Tisha seems to think that he's now using his right hand more since this happened. And I said, well, that would be because he couldn't use his left hand. His left hand was taken out, right? Where there was a part of the brain that just had to kick in to start using. Now, whether he continues to do that more so, I don't know. Okay? So you're dealing with all kinds of emotions. You see, this is where I need to write it down, because I'm jumping around between too many things on the board here. Right? If I was to try and bring in some kind of a program development where whatever experiences I seem to be going through, and I relate through via video, and other people are watching on the other end, and whether you can relate to all things, which would be impractical, but ultimately at some point, more than likely, especially if you're watching my channel, you're going to relate to something that, you know, is quite similar to what you're going through, and therefore, you know, there's just a need to toe that line, hang on, sink or swim, right? You're going to want to swim, okay? And through that is a learning process. And I feel like, I just feel like whatever it is that I'm going through and talking about needs to, I can't be just chatter. It just can't be just chatter. You know, right now I feel like it's just chatter. It's been chatter. It's been a lot of chatter. All right? So we need to take that chatter and build on our own lives. So the exercise for the day, here's the program development, okay, is focus. Make a list first in your head and then on a little piece of paper somewhere and work with it, right? Pick one bad habit, just one, okay? I don't care what the bad habit is, but you know it's a bad habit. Pick one bad habit and work on breaking the habit by making the habit uncomfortable. Okay? If you think about, well, I do this over here for whatever reason, and that seems to be a, you know, a soother. Habits are soothers, right? Aren't they? Put in a different soother, like I do with Mari. He only takes a certain kind of nipple. Right? So, you know, change the nipple. And stay focused to discipline yourself to follow through on the new rule so that you can break the old habit. This is the exercise. Okay? And work on that for a couple of months. Remind yourself every day. And even if you falter, and even if you don't make it each and single time, you just keep doing it to the point eventually you will more than likely become successful with it as you build in a different habit to replace the old habit. Okay? So therefore, now we're getting into reward systems. So think about, well, if I was successful to break this habit, how am I going to reward myself along the way so that the energy, that cortisol in your brain that you're creating for yourself because you're adding extra stress on yourself, your body, by trying to remove something that actually soothes you, right? Knowing that it's better for you if you remove it, but the soothing part is so primal that that's what keeps you there, right? So if you reward yourself for the little steps that you make along the way, then it neutralizes, okay, this is how I'm thinking, it neutralizes that cortisol that's going on in your brain. So you have to build in a little reward system. So it could be like, I don't know why strawberries are coming to my mind, but, you know, you could have a box of, like, you could have a bowl of strawberries, like, in your fridge, right? You'd have to have more than strawberries. It would be hard to keep strawberries in your fridge week after week after week after week as you're trying to break a bad habit, right? And you just want to reward yourself when you come into whatever it is that you're trying to break, right? And you can steer yourself away from that comfort zone. And even though you might cheat a little bit over here, you've already severed the trigger. But it doesn't mean that you weren't successful at the job in terms of breaking the bad habit, because you didn't do it where you initially felt most comfortable. You went off over here and you did it, right? But you still can reward yourself because you initially broke the connection as to how habits form. So you have to work on breaking the connection first before you can actually break the habit. But you have to reward yourself, because then it calms down that cortisol that's going on in your brain, and it neutralizes it so that it can heal and rebuild in a new habit. Okay? So that's the exercise. Stay focused, Pick one bad habit that you want to change. Find a way to bring in that disconnection, but still give yourself a reward for when you meet the expectation of whatever it is. Instead of doing something over here, you do it over here. Okay? And if you can't, or if you don't, if you're doing something over here and you say, that's it, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. But it's going to be hard to do that, right? Because it's a habit, and that's what, okay? That's just your primal, I don't know what that is. So anyway, you do it over here. It's kind of like cheating, but you still broke the connection. You're breaking the connection. So you do get to reward yourself with that. And you need to. Okay? You need to. Because eventually the brain is going to go for the reward more than it's going to go for the I don't want to say comfort, because it's not even really comfort. It's something, I don't know. Okay, so you know what to do, right? That's you on a personal level, no matter what's going on in your life. And with that, you just go about your day. Do what you have to do as an adult. That's all you can do. You can't do any more than that. And that's where I'm at right now, back at home. Like, what are you going to do today? Well, I got to get these plants in the ground. I just have to. I don't care who's bickering at me. If anyone's got anything to bicker about, right? Or what? I don't have to do laundry. I'm caught up with laundry. I have to take them down off the coat hangers and fold them up and put them away. But the initial, I still have a bit of laundry to do. I always have laundry. But, that's what I mean. Just go about your day, right? Now, I want to just talk briefly about what's going on in these hospitals. I have a lot of, we already know my opinion on the politics around public health, okay? And I feel that the workers are being exploited throughout that whole hospital. Because they're all being forced to wear masks. And not only are they being forced to wear masks, but for those ones that are like, I don't know, people, like, I went to the cafeteria. I don't know how to explain it other than I went to the cafeteria and I got some woman that's serving me food telling me to put on a mask. And I'm like, no, I have a mask exemption, like, And everybody just all paranoid. And then the nurses, these women are working 12-hour shifts, people. And like, this is dangerous, actually, when you really think about it. Because I talked to the nurses there, right? Several of them just, either, just random questions. And, some of them were just new, right? One started in November. Another one was introduced herself as a nurse in training, and just whatever, right? And they were all forced to wear masks. And this one woman, she was a tall woman, right? She said she started in November, and when we went to go get Amari his perm, right? I said to her, I said, you're a nurse, you know you're smothering your hippocampuses, your short-term memory. She said, well, what can I do, right? And it's true. What can these people do, people? and she's on a 12-hour shift. When I came in the morning, and I've seen this before, like when Uncle John or whatever, right? Shemay, whatever. When I came in at 4:30 in the morning, where people sit during the day, as everybody goes about their business and socializes and stuff, and visiting rooms and whatever, through that whole hall, the nurses took the chairs, put them together, blankets, got underneath and laid and covered themselves up, and we're all sleeping through the whole hall. This is where the government is wrong. Okay? They need I don't want to call it a lunchroom, but they need their own quarters for that. Right? These nurses running around all day, right? Right? It's a high-paced job for a lot of them, right? And they're sleeping on seats that any random person could have sat on during the day. Now, why they're sleeping there, I don't know. I don't know if they're just having cat naps, or if they're double booked into shifts and they're just allowed to sleep for a little while before they go back on another 12-hour shifts with freaking masks on yet. So, brings us to Amari with his hand. Now, I haven't really answered any of these comments. Obviously, I've been busy. It was we know I don't have a cell phone, so I couldn't post them in terms of approval until I got home, and I just approved them and gave everybody a heart. But I haven't made any comments because, it goes back to that balance of time where you have to stay focused, and this is why I'm doing this video. Because I don't want everybody getting emotionally traumatized or distorted with their emotions because of what I'm portraying on the videos as to what's happening with Amari and whatnot, unless I can help to neutralize those emotions to where we all gain something positive from it. Okay? In other words, I'm not using my grandson as a means to gain views, attention, da-de-da-da-da. I'm not trying to run with negative emotions so that I can get more attention. Okay? This is important. No, what I'd want to see is our emotions, because we're all over the map right now, because obviously what I went through was real. Was I exaggerating? No, people, not from my point of view. It's like I said, report yourself. Before you come and step to me, you take it to your board of directors and you call them you call them out for their shenanigans. Because as far as I'm concerned, my family is in danger. Now we can run with that and just go on and on and on and on and escalate it, and right? Or we know it's there. It has to be dealt with sooner or later. The problem doesn't go away. Because even if they take me out, sooner or later somebody else is going to step up to the plate and take my place. Because it's already out there now. People are starting to know. And for the things that I advocate for, benefit them. In other words, all these workers that I came into contact with, they all are part of that public union sector. To which, as they go through the years, I didn't want to get snide. As they go through the years and they get to their 25-year mark, they're entitled to have a peaceful retirement because they earned it. You see, that's what Uncle John taught us. You put your 25 years in and you get what you earned. And then you just live your life in peace. The things I fight for, people, brings peace. If I'm not successful calling out the shenanigans and having the government create better safety nets with stronger legislation and a motivated workforce to enforce that legislation when it comes to protecting the public, including those union public workers, sector workers, public union sector workers that put their 25 years in and don't want to be and don't want to be and don't want to be the next Uncle John. You get it? Or maybe Shimei. Because it's like Russian roulette. Body snatching is body snatching. Well, they have an investment in what I do for the ones that can see past their noses, you know what I mean? You have to be able to see past your nose. It's not all about me, people. It's not all about Uncle John. It's not all about Shimei. We're beyond that now. Literally, we are beyond that. And I did mention to these mainly women, well, it was all women really. I met one man. I did mention randomly about, because I was under a microscope, right, and everybody knew. So I let them know I filed a lawsuit, right, and that I got court in 3 weeks, and I told them, right, like I even mentioned what happened to Shimei about being embalmed in that hospital, people. If I have a random nurse looking after my grandson with all those emotions, and at the end of the day my grandson gets to come home, and that individual who was looking after my grandson clearly did the best that they could in terms of nobody's perfect, and what do you call it? Nobody can predict future, per se. And they were, why, like, I lost it. I lost what I was trying to say. This is the stuff we need to analyze more. The grits of it, okay? In order to be able to bring in that balance, in order to be able to stay focused, so that we're actually producing something that's productive. Right? Oh, yes. So, if I'm around a bunch of people that are doing the best that they can, and my grandson survives because of their effort, not because of my effort, but because of their effort, right? Why wouldn't I don't want to say reward them, but why wouldn't I want to see them be rewarded in terms of they themselves being treated fairly and equally at any point in their life, people? And it could be as far away as in 25 years from now, from when they get to retire. If they can let my grandson live in peace, why can't I let them live in peace? And being that they're the public union sector, when you look at them as a whole, they're a core workforce that is based on years of experience. And nobody that invests 25 years into a job would wish ill upon themselves, like with what happened with Uncle John. And I think some of these people the point of that is I think some of these people are starting to finally realize what I really fight for. Seriously. Because they didn't balk me when I said, look, this is what I guess I said think. I want to say no. Right? In terms of what happened to Shimei. So we can't be surprised that paramedics aren't acting out. Okay? If you want to take it there. But it doesn't mean that you have to be derailed from what you need to do or what you should do, and therefore you just need to stay focused. And that's the point of this video. So anyway, I've decided that I'm going to rescue a couple more trees from my yard, because I gave them a little oak tree yesterday. One of the ones that survived in the front. I'm going to go in the back and I'm going to grab a couple more pots. Probably one walnut tree and whatever I find. Some just little pots, right? So 2 more trees. This is a big crew, right? And I think I'm going to go down to Auntie Shimei's room, get into those cookbooks and just grab a stack of cookbooks. Randomly just grab a stack. Drop them off at the pediatric ward. And the women can swap recipes. That's what I'm thinking. Alright? As a thank you. And from a, I don't know, I don't want to say non-profit perspective, but kind of. Because I'm teetering with the non-profit. Right? Yeah. But maybe once Rhea settles in, because she's going to sign on as a board director, and gets her fingers into the ledgers, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So anyway, what I say I'm going to do and what I do are 2 different things sometimes. Right? I keep talking about this wipeout board, but I never do bring it out. Oh, the house is too small. I don't have time. By the time I think about it, I'm sitting down like this. I just want to, I don't know, people. I don't want time to slip by. I don't want time to slip us by too far, you know? I mean, there's only so much you can do in a day. There's only so much you're going to be allowed to do in a day. We know how easy it is to be derailed quickly and fast, right? So, I have to stay focused. So I want you to stay focused on your day. Okay? And if you got a bad habit in there that you want to break somehow, some way, figure out what it is. Figure out a little reward to replace something. You just have to break the connection. You don't necessarily have to break the habit right away. But wherever the strongest connection is within the habit itself, is where you start. And even if you cheat, you can still reward yourself. And that's to neutralize the cortisol that's going on in your head, because the more cortisol that you got going on in your head, the harder it is to focus. Okay? I can't change what's going on in this hospital in terms of everybody having their hippocampuses smothered and they're being worked to exhaustion without being provided adequate, without being provided with a adequate restroom where staff have a sense of privacy and can control the, I don't want to say contaminants in the environment, But basically, right, sleeping in the hall, even after all this time, isn't practical. They still have people in the halls up in the emergency area, so that's still an issue, right? So for as much as everybody's running around wearing their masks, it's not accomplishing anything outside of making the workers tired, more tired. Somebody mentioned about that thing in Amari's hand, where the reason his hand swelled up is because they didn't check the line. And when the person told me that sometimes it just does that, and the person who made the comment said, no, that's not true. Well, the person that was doing that at that time, she started in November. She was a new nurse, and she started in November, and she's overworked. She does 12 hours. I could clearly see the bags underneath her eyes. She had an itch in her throat because of the masks. I told her that. She knew it. She said she had a cold, or no, she said she whatever, right? And I said, no, it's the masks, right? I reminded her that she was smothering her hippocampus, but she felt she didn't have a choice, to which she doesn't, so she's forced to wear that mask 12 hours a day under artificial lighting that isn't good for the eyes because our governments have decided to change all the lighting. And again, 12-hour shifts. So with that, I could see how a mistake would happen based on what the person who commented on the video said. That's why it happened. Because she didn't do it intentionally, I don't think. I really don't. I don't want to go down that path. I'd like to think that as a new nurse, she was under a lot of pressure, but she was trying to do the best she could because she was in it for the long haul in terms of that 25-year mark where at some point she could have a future with peace because she worked for it. So, having a little understanding of what these people go through on a daily basis, it's bad enough you're there for 8 hours. Try doing 12 hours. I have a sense of appreciation for them. And that's why I want to drop off a couple more trees. But they were holding back on fighting who was going to get the little white oak, right? Obviously, there was more than one woman in there that wanted that tree. So that's what's provoked me to go and find a couple of more. But that's not enough because the crew is fairly large, right? So I'm thinking, what else can I give them just to make them happy as a group? And nobody's feeling left out. That's what I'm thinking, right? And I'm like, oh, I know. I'll just go grab a bunch of cookbooks. There's a bunch of women. They'll love it. They can swap recipes, right? Keep the book there for a week, right? You get your book. You go through the book, and they can photocopy the recipes. They can talk about the different recipes. So they can share the information, but still go home with their book. So I figure I'll grab about 15 books. Probably 15 books. 15 books would be good. And just put them in a bag and drop off the trees and drop off the books and hope that I never see them again because Amari won't end up there. But in the real world, we know that there's a possibility that he might, right? So this is where we just need to stay focused and try and build in those safety nets as we go along, whatever they are. And in this case, it happens to be baby monitors and gates, like rails, right? and baby monitors. Yeah. So, we need to build on our word power. That's why I want to bring out the wipeout board. We can build on our word power. So other than that, people, like, it's like I have to pick, you know, like laundry. When I came home and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So what you gonna do? Where do you want to start? What's the priority? Well, laundry, obviously, right? That was the best. I had a blast. I really did. It went nice and smooth. One load after another after another. It was great. And now I feel like, you know, I kind of have to do that with these plants. While I still have that pressure to move things around, eh? So my son did move in his girlfriend. And he says, but I'm not paying no rent until you clear out the basement. And I'm like, oh, good, I'm fine, no problem. But I still have that need to forget about the plans and clear out the basement, not because I need the money, but because of the pressure that I get around it. But this is not the priority. The priority is to get the plants in the ground. And I have a fair amount of plants that need to get into the ground. So, you know, you see how you kind of like create your own, right? I'm just going to take a few days off and get plants in the ground, as I do everything else in a day. Right? So hopefully we'll start planting some vegetables. That's what's supposed to happen today.